Sensational! Happy Cisse!
بلادي بلادي منار الهدى ومهد البطولة عبر المدى عليها ومنها السلام ابتدى وفيها تألق فجر الندى حياتي لمجدي بلادي فداء بلادي بلاد الإبا والشمم ومغنى المروءة منذ القدم بلادي بلاد الإبا والشمم ومغنى المروءة منذ القدم يعانق فيها السماح الهمم وفيها تصون العهود الذمم ستبقى بلادي منار الأمم لتمنع عنها دياج الظلم باسم المهيمن حامي العلم كل عام وحنا بأول الصفوف جيل وصي جيل سير ولا وقوف يا وطن شعبك على قلب رجل القلوب اتعانقت قبل الكفوف هذه بصمتنا باللون الخضر لا فرحنا يفرح العالم سهر عظمة يا بلادي عظمة شمخة السعودية وهل يخفى القمر يومنا السعودي
يشهد الله بلادنا بلادنا واحد ولا يفرق بيننا حاسد يشهد الله بلادنا بلادنا واحد ولا يفرق بيننا حاسد.
مساء الخير جميعا. يتجدد لقاءنا الأسبوعي مع برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد. بداية نهنئ الجميع والوطن باليوم الوطني. الليلة لدينا حلقة خاصة مع ضيوف مميزين. Good evening everyone. Welcome to LW Newcastle show. In the beginning, I would like to say Happy National Day for Saudi Arabia. And today we have a special guest with a special show. Firstly, I would like to welcome Mr. Stuart Penman from Bahrain. And also,
hi, how are you?
Hi, Stu. Also, I would like to welcome for first time Mr. Mitch. Mr. Mitch or Dr. Neil Mitchell, also known as the Geordie Dentist, is a lifelong Newcastle fan and currently can be here airing his views on Steve Wraith's Newcastle Matters channel on YouTube. He was founding chair of Newcastle United Supporter Trust and is a regular contributor to Newcastle to newspaper and fan publications. He has been co-presenter on Toon Talk Radio in Newcastle and on the Friday Sports on Capital Radio, United Arab Emirates, and regularly gives his view on Newcastle on Dubai Eye Radio. He sometimes talks about dentistry on there too. Mitch moved to Dubai with his family 9 years ago and is medical director of Dentist Direct. His family live in the beautiful Ras Al Khaimah, and Mitch spends his time partly in Dubai and at the home in Ras Al Khaimah. Welcome, Mitch. Firstly, Mitch and Stu, how did you know each other?
Well, a long time ago, I used to go to away games when I was living in Newcastle with a couple of friends, the Heed, Gary Fordyce, and Frankie, Darren Parkin. And in my group and Mitch's group, we used to see each other at matches. This is probably before mobile phones. So it was just a case of, hi, how are you? You all right? You all right? And stuff like that. So although we knew of each other, you can't say that we were friends. Then 5-6 years ago, Mitch, I was in Dubai, just moved to Dubai, and I had a dental problem. And just by pure chance, Mitch's practice was next to where I lived. And I was lying in his chair, and I started looking. I think I recognise this guy, and he said to me, "I think I know you." I say, obviously we both. How you understood that, I don't know. But it's a magical gift that is have. And we just started talking once he finished the work he had to do about Newcastle and how we knew each other, and a lot of friends that we both had, mutual friends, and it was crazy. So I think it was 2 days later I was going to watch a Newcastle game, and I invited Mitch to come along. And from then on, we've watched every single match together whilst I was living in Dubai, and become very firm friends. So that's
and when was that? Like in which year exactly?
2015, I would say.
About then, yeah.
Yeah, but when we first met, it would have been early 90s.
Early 90s, yeah. Absolutely.
MashaAllah,
right,
Stuart.
long before mobile phones and WhatsApps.
You mentioned it in you mentioned it in deep details. Okay. Welcome you lads, and we welcome the lads in the golf. In the previous show, I asked Stuart about the life in Bahrain and Gulf area in general. Same question to you, Dr. Neil, or Mitch. The life in Dubai and in Gulf area in general. How do you find it?
It's a very nice life indeed. It's a place of real opportunity. Because my family are up in Ras Al Khaimah. We have I get the best of both worlds, really. I've got the big city of Dubai and all the things that are here. And then when I go home at the weekends, I've got beautiful countryside, I've got great beaches, and it feels like a holiday. So, and I think if I look at how the kids have grown up here, the opportunities they had to do things at school, far more exciting than the kind of things I grew up doing at school. And it's a genuine, it's a good place to bring a family up as well. You feel safe and secure, and it's a really good lifestyle as well. You've got the opportunities to do so many different things and experiences that you would never have, and I feel quite lucky indeed that life's brought us on this path, and it's a very, very good life indeed. Can't complain.
So, what do you prefer then, Dubai or Ras Al Khaimah?
I like both.
Both. Like Stu said, like I like both Bahrain and Dubai. Bahrain like Newcastle. Yeah. Bahrain like Newcastle, and Dubai like London.
Yeah, I get that analogy. Certainly, it's a slower pace of life in Ras Al Khaimah. It's much more laid back, and it does have sort of more of a holiday vibe. My wife I think she prefers Ras Al Khaimah. I'm impressed that you pronounce it like Arab people pronounce it, Ras Al Khaimah, not Ras Al Khaimah. It's worth. Do you know what it is? It's worth trying to make an effort. Even just little things, I think they're always appreciated. I speak a little German and she speaks Spanish.
Maybe that's why. Because in German they pronounce "cha."
It's probably the pronunciation. And Stu speaks Spanish, and so when you I'm sure Stu would say the same, that when you try and make an effort and use the language, it's always appreciated.
Yeah, sure.
It's done well. I don't know how about you find though. If I speak to Germans, I'll speak to them in German, and they always reply to me in English almost straight away. It's like
no. In German, I only know in German "Good Nacht."
Yeah, Good Nacht.
Yeah, that's it.
For me, I just know Bayern München. So you're thinking to maybe move to Al Bahrain to be with your friend Stuart?
Well, you never say never to anything in this region. Opportunities come up, but I'm in the middle of growing the practice and doing a lot of work in Dubai at the moment. So not for the foreseeable, that's for sure. But you never say never out here, because you never know where life's going to take.
Okay, وليد.
I would like to ask you, Mitch, both you, Mitch and Stuart, about Manchester City experiment in Emirates. How did you see it since now it's complete exactly 12 years? And how do you think Newcastle, after the takeover, inshallah, hopefully, will reach this level with Saudi consortium?
Well, as an experiment, it was an interesting one in terms of seeing how trying to get the Emirati population to buy into Man City. The football support out here in the Gulf is quite different to that back home in terms of a lot of supporters follow big name players rather than specific clubs. And so they'll often jump wherever that player is, they'll suddenly be following another team. That's not the nature of the beast back in the UK. You effectively, it's your hometown club is pretty much it. That relationship you have as a supporter with your own club is quite different. So it was interesting to see Emiratis sort of buying into that, following their club, as it were, and to see how that grew. And because it did grow, because I mean, in this region, they had a lot of catching up to do. Liverpool, Man United in particular, have had strong supporter groups in this part of the world for many years. Liverpool used to come out of the Gulf in the 70s, and so that sort of historic, if there were clubs that were followed in the region, tend to be clubs like that came out here, made the effort to come out here, and were also big clubs, Liverpool and Man United. So to see the Emirates, Abu Dhabi purchase a club to grow in the situation that Man City were in at the time, it was interesting to see that be worked to grow support and an interest base. It's certainly taken time and a heck of a lot of money. Could Newcastle be taking on that journey? Yes. I don't think that's the expectation amongst the supporters, though. I think our expectation is simply we want owners who love the club the way we do, who care about the club the way we do. We've not won a domestic trophy since 1955. We've not won a trophy full stop since 1969. So it's not like we're expecting to be dripping with FA Cups and Premier Leagues. That expectation, it's a fallacy. That is really trotted out by the media when they get very lazy and finding ways to talk about Geordies. So there's certainly not that expectation. But could it be done? Yes. I think it would be, and certainly everything I've been told about the project, as it were, was it's a long-term project, and I think we would be in for a long and interesting ride together as the club group. There's no doubt about that. I don't know what you think, Stu.
Well, I was just interested to hear Waleed say the project's finished with Manchester City, because only today they announced that they're building a 23,000-seater arena next to the ground, which will hold boxing, fights and everything. So to carry on from what you were saying, Mitch, it shows that it's a long-term plan, yes. But I disagree slightly with what you said, because I think when PIF do take advantage, or the PIF do take advantage and do manage to obtain Newcastle United, they can use the model that Manchester City had or have and fast track it. Now that doesn't mean, like as you said, we'll win the league in 2 years or 3 years, but there's a blueprint there that they can follow, and hopefully with the funds that could be made available, then there's no reason why we couldn't be up there challenging quicker than what we'd expect. Now that's our expectations, not the expectations of some fans, or the media, should we say, who think we should be winning the league every single season. So yeah, the PIF, the potential, we keep using this word potential, but it's so real. I mean, Mitch and myself, back in the day when we first crossed paths, we had potential. This is going back when we were in the old First Division.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're places like Barnsley on a Sunday and Tranmere on a Sunday and things like that. These away games. So, and then we've also done European away games. So we've had that 3-4 year fast track journey. And it wasn't a roller coaster. It was a reverse bungee jump. You know, it was like a rocket. And unfortunately, it ran out of fuel. And it's there waiting for someone just to put the nozzle back in and engage it. And the potential of this club could be massive, bigger than Manchester City, because we were bigger than Manchester City then. And to go to another question that was posed to Mitch, I think in Dubai, you'll see a splattering of Manchester City, but the majority of the Manchester City fans in that region will be in Abu Dhabi, you know, because that's where the links are. Whereas when PIF take over Newcastle, there'll be a huge instant gathering in Saudi, an instant support in Saudi Arabia for Newcastle, you know, and the quicker it happens to celebrate the 90th National Day as well, you know, it's one of those things that we can move on very quickly with. So I agree to some of the things that you said, but I don't think the Manchester City have decided that's it. And I think Newcastle could do it quicker than what they've done, simply by following their blueprint.
Yeah, but I mean, what that building of the arena shows is the kind of investment in the city and in the region. And
it's long-term commitment, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that Newcastle was crying out for, really. When you look at the way things are going in the UK at the moment, Newcastle now will miss out on the kind of funds that used to come from the EU, Brexit happening. If you look at Newcastle's quayside and the way that that's been redeveloped, most of that money came from Europe. It didn't come from London, it came from Europe. We are often forgotten about in the northeast of England. Money seems to bypass to go into Scotland and never really lands in Newcastle the same way. And so as a region, the investment opportunities for the Saudi are huge, absolutely huge. And that could add to the infrastructure of the city and see the city grow in some very interesting ways. And it's so much more than about a football club. The relationship that football club has with the city and the region is quite special. It sits literally at the heart of the city. There is a synergy between the fan base, the supporters, and the club and the community in general. It's often said that productivity in the northeast goes up 60% on a Monday if Newcastle have won on the Saturday, and there's probably something in that. You can feel the heartbeat of the city, all based around that club. And so anything attached to the club that then brings further investment in the region in every way possible, property, facilities, even just making parts of the city look better and bring them up to date. These opportunities are huge, and they're long-term things. They're things that would generate income for PIF for many, 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 many years to come. So you can see why it's not just about buying football club, you're buying the heart of the region and everything that goes with it.
That's something I mentioned in the last show, Mitch, as well, that it's the urban regeneration that's needed, but the loyalty that it will garnish. And I think I'm talking about a marriage, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something that you can have generations of people. You know, my father or my mother worked for that company, so did. You know, if you go back to the mines, you know, there was generations of people doing the mines, but there could be generations of people were working within what could be created with the PIF investment. And it's, as you said, it's nothing to do with London. You know, this is something that Newcastle will own on its own. The pride in that it will garnish, and the pride in the region, the pride in the people.
Yeah.
You know, that'll shine through. You know, so I don't want to get ahead of myself because there's nothing being announced as yet, but when it happens, I think, you know, Newcastle will be unstoppable. We had a sniff of it a few years back, you know, a couple of decades ago now, but sometimes it seems like yesterday, sometimes it seems like a few lifetimes ago.
Half a lifetime ago.
You know, we've had a taste of it, but there's a generation below us that haven't, you know, and they've just grown up on rubbish and been fed, and it's a generation that could be lost. You know, I mean, I was speaking to someone this week, and I thought, I don't know how I afforded to go to all these away games when I was that age, you know. But the people now, the youth now, people that my age then, or sorry, people that the age I was at that time, you know, they've got so many different choices now, and going to watch dire football isn't exciting for them. You know, so it's something that the club needs. It needs a huge investment, but whoever does make the investment will be repaid tenfold easily.
Well, as a Saudi fans, we believe if the takeover happened, we might even have a better experiment than Manchester City.
Yeah,
it took them 3 years, I think, since they buy the group by Manchester City in 2008. It took them 3 years to get the Premier League, and they are for Champions League they still fight for it. So, do you think if the takeover happen, when we're gonna win the Premier League? You think, guys?
Well, when it happens, you're not going to want to finish second. I know what this region's like. Nobody likes finishing second in this region. That's why everybody wants to build the tallest tower and drive the fastest Lamborghini and. That's how it works out here. This is something we've tried to get across to fans back home. That it's not, and it's not. You're not in it just to play games. You're in it to win it. Simple as that. And so that will be the driver. There's no doubt about that. And so I can say with that unshakable Gulf confidence, you say, yeah, this will be a better experiment. And that's what I like. I like it, you know. And that's why we get excited. I think why we, in particular, knowing the region, get very excited about the prospect, because you just know you're not in it to be second. You're not in it to be third, to be a glorious failure, and that's not what this region's about. And so it will bring some very interesting games along the way as well. You know, the Oil Classico or whatever they want to call it, in Newcastle and Man City. You know, it really will generate, and imagine the excitement in the region for something like, you know, we know the relationship between the UAE, Saudi, positive links. Gosh, we were celebrating Saudi National Day here in the UAE, and so you know that friendship and that standing shoulder to shoulder as countries. But imagine the appetite for a game between two teams owned by those two countries. The region would go mad for it, and so. And it would be a game nobody would want to lose, and so it certainly whets my appetite, and that's why I get so excited about it.
I remember, I think 2015. I've been in Dubai, and it was the season finale. I think it was last round, and I think the championship between. The league title between City and Liverpool. I think they were.
Yeah, we were playing West Ham to stay up that season.
I think, and I remember in Dubai, everybody was wearing Manchester City, and I saw the academic players. They are young from all age difference. They wearing the. Manchester City. It's like it was looking like Manchester City is not Dubai. It was like Manchester City that time. So I wish if, and hopefully in my mind, I think this will happen for us after, inshallah, after the takeover. And nothing. I expect similar. Not less than that.
There's something that Mitch has said before. And I know that you both will agree. In the region, people don't follow teams, they follow players. But with this takeover, people will follow the team, and it'll generate more loyalty. It'll create a stronger fan base, and that will grow. We talk about in Newcastle how things get passed down from generation to generation. You know, the league needs a shake-up. It's the same old, and something like Newcastle, the fourth best supported team in the history of the English leagues, I read somewhere this week. You know, so the potential's there, not just in the UK but worldwide, and this is what's keeping a lot of like the old guards excited, because we know what can happen, and we've also been there and had our fingers burnt as well. So that's why we tread with caution, positive optimism, but with caution as well.
Growing the global fan base is a key element to anybody coming in to the club. I know it's something that Bin Zayed Group in Dubai looked at when they were talking about buying the club, and they estimated, I think it was a global fan base of about 4.5 million, and part of their plans were to get that to over 6 million within 18 months, and that's entirely feasible, entirely possible. And I think more so with the kind of infrastructure that would come with PIF buying. It could be, you know, a meteoric rise in the global fan base, because it's a global game now, because the Premier League is a global brand, and there's fans watching in every corner of the globe now. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that would be very important, is to get that global fan base and get the weight of that global fan base behind the club as quickly as possible.
I hope to see the near future, inshallah. I hope to see the final round between Newcastle and Manchester City, and to see the competition at last second who will gonna win the league.
I'd rather it be Newcastle versus Morecambe. We've got a better chance of winning.
Inshallah. Okay, before we go to the break, وليد, maybe you will mention about Adam.
Yeah, we
Mention
have
announcement about Adam.
Yeah, our friend Adam Beckett from Magpie Studio. He ran for to joining the Nest board, the trust, and I just want to play the video here.
Hello everybody, it's Adam here. I just wanted to send you a quick video and thank you for all of the support I've received so far since announcing I was running to join the Trust Board. You can find lots more about me and my platform on Twitter at AdamBeckett09. Talk to you all soon, but thank you so much.
Okay, we'll go now for break, and we'll get back to you then.
After the break, what do we have after the break, Hassan?
We have the competition between Mitch and Stewart. We'll see who will win.
Oops. All right, guys, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, it's gonna be. أبتقول شيء سامع?
Is it about the football managers again?
Okay, it's gonna be a few Arabic words. I will try to say it in Gulf way, maybe not more Saudi, because you're living in Dubai and Manama.
Yeah,
So-
because in Riyadh there is a different accent than the East Coast. The East Coast is near like to Dubai, to Bahrain.
Okay.
Okay, Walid, go ahead.
Okay, I have about 17 or 18 words. So let's
Wow.
see how much you can get. So just
What do we do?
if you know that,
Do we just
if you
shout
know- if you
out
know-
or do we take turns?
what do you think? What do you prefer? What's better? To raise hand, I think, or just to shout? Shout is better.
Take turns.
What do you think?
Take turns, because if we just shout, we might sound the same, and you won't understand who's shouting.
So, so what do you think? You will shout or?
Just alternate.
Alternate the
Ask Stuart,
questions.
then ask me. Yeah.
Okay, so first get. I will make the scores. Okay, first word we have. Moya, or mai.
Is that for me? I know that one.
For you all.
Right,
Oh,
that's
okay,
water.
So I just
Water.
One for Stuart.
Mind to buy the bottles. You should have got that one,
Oh.
Mitch.
صباح الخير.
Good morning.
that's good morning.
Okay, Stuart two. كيف حالك؟
How are you? كيف حالك?
2-1.
Hang on.
2-1.
Hang on.
يلا
That, you
you,
see, that's
you
quick.
need to do Mitch, you need to do
How are
remontada.
you?
Remontada.
remontada.
كيفك؟
Yeah, كيفك in mostly in maybe Syrian or Lebanese talk.
Yeah.
Egyptian.
كيفك.
Yeah, Egyptian too. Yeah.
لا, not even Egyptian. No, Egyptian they have ازيك, I think. ازيك is like كيف حالك. All right. بحر.
I know that one because I work on the. No, it's the sea.
Yeah, 3-1.
Because
Yeah.
I work on this thing. I work on the coast.
البحرين البحرين it's like means two of sea.
Two seasons.
Yeah, two
Seas, yeah,
seas.
Farid.
Yeah.
All right. سمك أو سمك. سمك.
سمك.
سمك.
Fish.
يا سلام. Two for Mitch.
What was that,
Three
Mitch?
Stuart.
Fish.
Fish.
Oh, well done.
Simak.
Ah, you're vegetarian. You should get that.
Aye.
Yeah. أسنان or sin.
Teeth.
Oh,
sure.
3-3. Draw.
Teeth.
Teeth, as in.
Teeth. Aye.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's, yeah, no problem. Fine.
Yeah, I will try to be fair.
Let's pretend it's a
Don't
teeth
worry.
question.
Don't worry, it's gonna be fair question.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, now we have سيارة.
Car.
4 for Mitch. 3
Well
Stuart.
done, Mitch.
عصير. عصير أو عصير.
Oh, juice.
4 draw. Call.
ده.
كورة. كرة.
Ball.
الكورة.
Football. Football.
Yeah.
Yes. Aye.
yeah.
Ball.
Okay. 5-4. طاولة. أو طاولة. طاولة.
طاولة.
شو يقولون الإماراتيين؟ طاولة أظن صح؟
ماسة ما أدري ماسة يمكن.
لا
طاولة.
ماسة.
ماسة.
That was table.
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 طاولة.
طاولة. Okay.
One of those
This
words you
should
need
be.
to know.
Yeah. This should be easy. طيارة.
Hayar.
طيارة.
طيارة.
Aeroplane.
Airplane.
Like, give us a clue, isn't it?
Yeah.
I will try my best. Okay. مطار. Yeah.
Oh man, I should know.
Airplane.
what a bar is.
Where? Huh?
Airport.
I know what a bar is. but I don't know what a
Airport.
bar-
Yes.
Correct.
Airport.
Yeah.
Yes. Airport. مطار.
Well
Cool.
done. Mitch.
So now, so far we have 6 for Stuart, 5 for Mitch. اوكي. اغنيه.
Say that again, please, Al-Walid.
اغنيه.
Bless you.
Headphones.
Don't know.
No, close. What you hear usually in the earphone?
Well, music.
أغنية.
Music.
Yeah,
Song. It's a that's
Song, okay.
Mitch, you have to make remontada or Stewart will win. Okay. مبروك.
Well, congratulations.
مين قال أول اسم؟
I think.
Who said it first?
I don't know.
Draw.
Draw. So.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. منزل.
Right, Mitch. I know this one because it's what I sell, right? But there's another word for it. Right? It's house, but there's another word for it. So anyone who's watching from Newcastle, the other word for house in Arabic is bait.
Bait, yeah.
Yeah.
Bait, but it means house. So I had to get that one.
شقة.
Apartment.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very cool.
We've just that property. Jesus.
Oh, you had the chief one before.
That's true. Fair enough, that.
طيب. كاس. كاسة أو كاس. كاس. أو كاسة.
Cas.
Casa's house as well, isn't it? That's Spanish, sorry.
Cas.
That's Spanish, mate.
Spanish. Cas is a glass. Drink gas. A coupe or cas.
Cup.
Okay, last word. منديل.
Mandil.
No.
منديل أو محارم. Napkin. Tissue. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 goals for Stewart and 5 goals for Mitch.
Well done, Stu.
Mabruk.
And we have the winner. Winner is Stewart.
What would you have done if Richard won? It looks like that was already there.
It's already there, but,
okay.
but I didn't know I will win, so I said maybe Mitch. I was prepared.
Prior planning.
I was prepared. Don't worry. Hard luck, Mitch. Hope you will win next time.
Yeah, and try to remember, guys, the word of Mabruk. When the takeover happens, inshallah, you say it. Yeah, Mabruk, inshallah.
Mabruk.
Yeah. Okay, now we would like to talk about the Newcastle performance this year. Newcastle, I think, played 4 games. 2 of them was in the Premier League. What do you think?
Yeah, but you know what? What do you think? Let's talk about maybe more about Premier League. Start with Premier League, and we'll go to Carabao Cup. So let's say let's talk about Mitch. Will you start with? Let's start with this before talking. Okay, it's a Steve Bruce interview.
Was it disappointing for you guys today? First of all, your assessment of the game.
Well, you can't start the game, especially in the Premier League the way we started. It's over before we've kicked a ball, basically. It'll be 2-0 down against a very decent Brighton side after 6-7 minutes, whatever it was. Just give ourselves far too much to do, and you know, we can talk about tactics and this and that and the other. Unfortunately, we just had a horrible, awful start where we give ourselves a mountain to climb after that.
No shots on target either today. What do you think the difference was from today to your last performance in the Premier League?
Well, I mean, as I said, I think we didn't start the game and couldn't get any sort of control of it at all, especially in the first half. So a slight change, and we had a big chance at 2-0, but I think we're clutching at straws, if I'm being brutally honest. We didn't do enough in the game, either defensively or going forward, and as I said, I don't think we recovered from the first 5-10 minutes.
You were in the dressing room a second ago. Have you had a chance to speak to your team, and what's the reaction from them?
Whatever said in dressing rooms will remain in the dressing room. So yeah, but they're disappointed. We've had a decent week. They're disappointed and got off to a horrible start, and all of a sudden it's turned into one of those awful afternoons, which you have to accept and go back to work tomorrow and get on with it again.
What will you need to see more of next time out?
Oh, a little bit of everything. But so we've got a big week ahead of us. We've got another cup tie in the midweek, and let's go to work on it.
Can we check on the fitness of Jamal? Is he okay? And Alan came
Yeah, he's
off
got
as
a
well?
nasty kick. He's being stitched at the moment. We don't think it's the actual cut, but we think he might have an abrasion in his eye. We'll see about that one. Alan's got an ankle, so we'll see how they are tomorrow.
So, what do you think of this? Why are you laughing?
Well, I'm laughing because it sounded like Steve Bruce's mind was on something else when he asked, "What do you think about next time?" He says, "A bit of everything." I think he's referring to a buffet or something. You know, what would you like to say next time? Well, a bit of everything. And then I've just found out on that interview as well that Alan St. Maxim has an ankle. There's magical. I thought he would have had two, but he has an ankle. So there you go. But joking aside, with the interview, there was interviews with Steve Bruce prior to the game, and it was very negative, very defeatist, explaining how Brighton was such a wonderful team. And yes, you've got to be complimentary to the opposition, but he sounded like he was in fear of them, and that they're such a wonderful team, and he expects to concede the majority of possession. And you know, you're thinking, we're at home, we're playing Brighton. You know, we should be getting after these teams. And it was disappointing, again, with the interview. I know it's raw, it's straight after the game, etc. But he said the words that I was thinking, that the game was over before a ball was kicked. I don't think he meant to say that, but that's how I felt. And if you go 1-0 down, you can see that they were getting exposed down the flank. But we're all managers sitting watching on TV or at the game. You know, we're all managers. He's got the task of doing it. But at least do it. At least make changes if they need to be made, and make changes for the right reasons. You know, not to appease anyone else. He's the boss. He's the one that's going to fall on his sword. But if what he says is true and it was just one of those games, then great, it was one of those games. But there's a big fear that it wasn't just one of those games. We've made some good signings, and we should have improved as a squad from last season. But we're not going to. I didn't go overboard with the reaction of getting beat of Brighton, because we're going to get beat of teams. You know, just because we've signed a couple of players doesn't mean we're going to be challenging for Europe this season. It should make us more secure from relegation, but it doesn't mean we're going to be challenging for Europe. So games like this are going to happen. It's how we react to them afterwards. That's just my take on that interview, anyway.
Mitch?
Super frustrating, because I mean, we played so well against West Ham, and I think we surprised ourselves how well we did against West Ham. And then the performance against Brighton, we just never got started. And what frustrated me, we were torn apart by a right back. It was that right back was doing all the damage, and that shouldn't be the case. A silly challenge to give the penalty away. But then, you know, we just didn't seem to be able to adapt or change, and didn't make enough changes early on, when it was obvious that all the trouble was coming down the right hand side. And so something needed adjusted, and it was all too little too late. And that's typical Newcastle United, this sort of Jekyll and Hyde, an ability to be brilliant one week and absolutely awful the next. And we just turn into Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. You just never know. You never know what you're going to get with it. And that's the frustrating thing with this team, is you can see the potential in some of them. Like Stu says, we're not going to be challenging for Europe, but we should look more secure than that. And we certainly should look more secure against a team like Brighton, with due respect to Brighton. You know, that's exactly the kind of team we should be having a go at home, and not letting them dominate possession. And Stu was right. In Steve Bruce's interviews before the game, it was almost like he was prepping us to be disappointed. And I don't get that. I don't get that mentality at all. But and that's another frustrating thing with Bruce. Because he sometimes seems to just be happy to put the white flag out, and that frustrates the living daylights out of me sometimes.
I'm wondering why he still didn't reach the right formula until now, or the right formation to play like teams against Brighton. Brighton is not one of the top 6, or just
no, and we have a terrible record against them recently. I think it's that the 6th or 7th game we've gone against them without picking up a win.
Yeah, last win was in the Premiership, Championship.
So it's that's disappointing. But for all, I was quite happy for him to start the same 11 that beat West Ham, because those guys had earned effectively the right to play and keep their places because we did so well. We just looked a shadow of the team that put West Ham to the sword. And they just looked like they didn't have any plan B. There just wasn't a plan B. And even with the changes that were made, no plan B at all. It was just we're going to do it this way, and this is the only way we're going to do it. And it was clear it wasn't going to work. You know, after 10 minutes, it was clear it wasn't going to work.
And it looked like the coach of Brighton was study Newcastle very well, study West Ham game with Newcastle very well to play on the weakest point, as we see with the first player they have.
Well, Potter's known as a bit of a sort of a tactician and somebody who's built a reputation. Didn't he take quite an unfashionable Swedish team into the Champions League? You know, so the guy's quite astute. He has this reputation of being quite a scholar of the game, as it were. So yeah, I'm quite sure he worked this out.
I was going to mention about the Brighton coach. He's done his homework. Now, yes, there was a lot of joy down the right-hand side, but what we've got, where I believe they won the game or dominated the game, was in midfield. And they nullified Shelby. As soon as he got the ball, they were on him. And it's harsh to call the fellow a one-trick pony, but if he's not given time to spray the ball about, he's not quick enough, agile enough or mobile enough to get across the pitch, up the pitch, back the pitch, and they just played around him, and that's something that the manager could see. That's when they should have put Hendrick into the middle, put a wide man on, and had a go. You're 1-0 down, you're 2-0 down very quickly. You've lost the game. If that's what he said, he's admitted that in an interview. He believed he'd lost the game. Try and win it. Don't try and stay loyal. You made a mistake. We understand why you kept the same team, because the team played really well against West Ham, and I think if he had picked the wrong team, if he picked a different team, he would have been criticised anyway. But he's got thick enough skin to put up with the criticism that he gets from the armchair fans. But as I said earlier, he's the manager. If you look and you see someone, not just for that game, it could ruin the player's confidence. And if you look at ASM, was he really that injured? Or has he just, I've given away a penalty when it was a genuine attempt for the ball, which he actually got. But in this day and age, they're going to give a penalty for it. He got skinned for the second goal. And then all of a sudden, my leg's hurting, my ankle's hurting, my hamstrings, something was hurting. And it was the thing that was hurting most with him was his ego. And it took a bashing. Now, that's when the fella needs an arm around him. That's when changes need to be made to say, okay, get further up the pitch. I'll shuffle things in behind you. You're not a defender. Oh, take him off if his head's gone. Take him off and change it straight away. Mourinho was a master at it. He did it for Tottenham earlier in the last season, as it was. They were 2-0 down, and he took Dyer off. I think it was after 20-odd minutes, and they ended up winning 4-2. But he's not scared to make the big calls. And I think Bruce has his niche of players where they all think he's great. They've got great camaraderie because they know they're going to get picked every game. So we'll see what the formation is on Sunday. I think most of us are expecting to be more defensive. I think it was you, Mitch, mentioned on the show earlier as well. Tottenham are as bad as us. Brilliant one day and rubbish the next. So it's one of those games that could go either way. Obviously, it's going to be 3-1 to Newcastle. So there's no point in talking about it further, is it? That's going to be the result. 3-1 to the tune.
Sunday against Tottenham. What do you think? What Mr. Bruce need to change? Do you think, guys?
His attitude to
We need
start
more
with.
pace. His attitude. We need to have our pacey players in, and we need to have mobility. That's what we need across that team is mobility. And I think we need to think about using what pace we have in the squad, because our chances will probably come from breakaways and counter attacks. So
Other way.
yeah, that'd be the other way. Let's see, but I think that's what we need. I think we need a bit more pace in there, and he needs to make some big calls on which players he's going to leave out to get the pacey players in.
I think, sorry, Mitch, I think being realistic that we're going to be pegged back a bit. The majority of the game is going to be played in Newcastle's half, so we're going to have to hit them on the break. Now, you don't need it, and this isn't a let's have a blast at Shelby evening, but you don't need Shelby in that team. You need someone who's going to break the play up. Now, Mitch, me could go and sit in a centre midfield and kick the ball forward to Almiron or Fraser or Maximin to run after it. You need people who can break this play up and feed them as quickly as possible if we're going to hit them on the break. So, to me, I would have Hayden in the middle with Hendrick and play two wide men. Even put Longstaff in front of them. If not Almiron, because he's willing to track back and capable of tracking back.
So, do you think there will be 5 in the back? Maybe Bruce will do that, or he will not repeat this mistake again.
He could, but I think it's the kind of game where he could rock up with 5 at the back. He has that potential to, but I do think towards the end of last season, he started to settle on a back 4 as his preferred way. But you just never know what he's going to rock up with. And let's see. It's something he could do. There's no doubt about that, but I don't think he will, personally.
What do you prefer the formation would be? 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2. What do you think? And
I prefer. Do you know what?
For the player then.
I get less concerned about having fixed formations. I think you need to play your hand to suit, to see where you can exploit the opposition, and so there'll be some games where back
but against Tottenham,
against you want to call it.
Against Tottenham.
Yeah, I think 1 up front with 5 in midfield and 4 at the back,
which could become a 4-3-3 when they're going forward.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's say Shelby and Hayden, or Shelby or Hendrick. Let's say there's 2 in the central midfield. Who do you think the best 4 who will play forward?
Well, Wilson be up front, and then for me, it depends on Maximin's fitness.
No, I think it's been said in the conference today he will not play.
Right. Okay. So then for me, then Fraser. Yeah. For me, then off of Wilson would be Fraser, Almiron, and probably Sean Longstaff.
Longstaff.
That's what I would go with.
Mr. Bruce also said today, he said in the press, he said Fraser, he's still not fit to play in the line-up because he didn't play for a long time. So maybe.
It's interesting.
So for you, is Almiron
and Sean Long
and Wilson and Sean Staff.
Yeah.
Who's the 4th?
Staff, yeah.
The same I would be against giving Murphy. Play Murphy on the wing.
Yeah, Murphy. Because I mean, he played well in midweek. There's no doubt about that. And he looks a different player to the one that we sent away on loan.
What do you think?
Like he's got a lot more confidence. Yeah.
What do you think, Stuart? Same 4, the best 4 to play in the front.
Yeah, I would have Almiron playing definitely, but I wouldn't have Shelby. I would have Hayden and Hendrick sitting.
No, I mean the forward. I mean the forward player.
Wilson for sure. Yeah.
And who's behind
Wilson? And then if you've got, did you say Fraser wasn't playing?
No, he mentioned that Fraser not ready to play full games.
Right, so then Almiron on one wing and Murphy on the other. Because they're willing to track back and capable of tracking back as well. They don't have to tackle, but bodies there which predicts play down again and then get back up the pitch quick again. And then have Longstaff in front of the two centre midfielders playing behind Wilson. So same as what you said there, Mitchell.
Schoenstatt, he's I don't know, he looked more defensive for me, more like defender, or I'm wrong?
They started to use him in a more advanced role last year, and I think he did look better in that more advanced role when was it the Burnley game where he ended up coming off with
Oxford he scored a good goal against.
Aye. And I think it was when we played Burnley at Burnley, and I think he came off with an injury, but for 60 minutes he looked very good indeed in that role. So yeah, I think I think the crucial thing for Sean Longstaff is he needs to establish what his role is, because he has an opportunity. If he establishes a role, he could keep the place. I think they've not known what his best position was. They seem to have flirted with him as a defensive midfielder, flirted with him as an attacking midfielder, and I think if he has made his mind up that that's the way he wants to play, and he wants to play in a more advanced role, then great, good on him, because we need to get him into an established role if possible.
Matt Ritchie.
I suspect he might be covering left back if
Lewis isn't fit.
Yeah, I suspect he might be left back tomorrow.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Carabao Cup. So, did you see Morecambe game? How did you see? Did you watch it? Because we were we can't watch it through it's outside of the UK. So, what do you think of the game, guys?
There are ways to get these things. I thought it would. You know what really pleased me? We properly put them to the sword. We didn't sit back. We didn't go 1-0 up early, as I've seen Steve Bruce's teams in cup games with lower league opposition do before. Go up a goal early and then just sit back. We just kept going. It was ruthless. I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe after the defeat, maybe after Brighton.
Maybe, but the other thing as well is it's given players an opportunity to say to Steve Bruce, pick me for the next game. They looked hungry. And again, I like to see that. That's something, again, I've not seen us do often in cup games the way other teams seem to be able to. You know, you look at how, say, Man United put kids for years by bringing them into cup teams and making them hungry for more. And there was players there that definitely were laying down a marker to Steve Bruce to say, right, pick me on Sunday. And so I love seeing that, and I love the fact that we didn't let off. I love the fact it was already 4-0 before they went down to 10 men, so you can't attribute the result to them going down to 10 men. And the fact that we didn't let off once they went down to 10, we just kept going. And okay, perhaps we took our foot off the gas a little bit in the second half, but you can't complain at a 7-0 win away from home, no matter who the opposition is, because we've sort of almost got used to expecting to mess games like that up. The amount of times we've been dumped out of the League Cup by a lower league team, when you look at the next round and you think, oh, we've got a good draw in the next round if we get through this, and then we mess it up. So this time we got the good draw in the next round and we haven't messed it up, and that's great. But it's certainly for the players that played, they're laying down markers to see Bruce to say, right, get me involved more, which is great. Love it.
Just to add to that, Mitch, as well, I was critical of Steve Bruce for Brighton, so I think we have to give him praise as well. You know, if you take the claps, take the slaps, or take the slaps, take the claps as well. Irrespective of the opposition, Newcastle played teams in the lowest division before, That's the biggest away win in our club's history. You know, so it doesn't matter. The guys, maybe he's had a word. He played quite a strong team. He could have made massive changes, but he played quite a very strong team compared with the opposition we had. But the one thing that pleased us was the word I used that was lacking against Brighton. It was there against Morecambe. That was attitude. You know, the players looked up for it. They wanted to win the little battles. They got the early goal. Quite right. They didn't sit back. They killed the game early. But even then, I think once the player got sent off, it made it more difficult because naturally Morecambe withdrew and you know, sat back a bit more, and it was more damage limitation for them as well. But the first 30 minutes or so, it was really pleasing. And to keep a clean sheet, it's a big thing for defenders and for goalkeepers. And to finish it off nicely, yeah, it could have been 10. You're never going to please everyone. But 7-0, 7-0 away from home, biggest win in the club's history. How can you not be pleased? You can only be, you know, you can only look for faults. And that says more about the person criticised than it does about the result. I think you've got to say credit where it is due and fair play to them. So more of the same on Sunday if possible.
I love the fact
not
that
7-0, like, but let's get a win.
I love the fact they all seem happy to shoot on sight as well. How many times do you see us trying to walk the ball into the back of the net, and instead sometimes you're just crying,
scared to shoot.
Put their laces through it and just have a go, because if you're gonna take a shot, you're gonna make things happen sometimes, and by gosh, didn't they make some things happen? Some of those
confidence,
yeah, and it breeds confidence, and it breeds that'll come through the squad.
What do you think?
There's a lot of players that have gained confidence from that game.
Expectation.
This is the best draw we could have hoped for.
Yeah, that's 7:30 Bahrain time, Riyadh time.
That's sorry,
TV now. Yeah, it's 5:30 UK time.
Remember this game?
Yeah, Newport. No, I don't remember. Mitch was there.
I can tell you. I can tell you a story about that game.
It's okay. It's 74 years ago. Sure.
I can tell you a story about that game. My grandfather. My grandfather was doing his national service, and he was in the RAF, and he was stationed just outside of Newport. And he finished his duty, and he had some R&R, and he went to the local pub. And the first thing he asked, he didn't know the score. So the first thing he did after he'd ordered a drink was to turn around to the bar staff in a broad Geordie accent and say, what was the score? And somebody obviously took umbrage at that, and he was immediately met with a right hook, which started a fight in the pub, and they got all the RAF personnel barred from the pub for a month, all because he just wanted to know what the score was. He didn't know it was 13-0. Somebody in the pub thought he was taking the mick, and this massive brawl broke out. All a result of the daft Geordie who just finished his work at the RAF base, turning up and asking the score. So yeah, it's something. It's one of those stories that gets told in the family folklore, so to speak, and that I mean 13-0, DME.
Yeah, what's the coincidence? The date is 30 September of the game, and I was looking for this game was 5th of October 1946.
Wow.
So it's like almost exactly 74 years ago.
Almost 74 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
So, what's your expectation of the game?
I would take 1-0 and progress into the next round, because that's the nature of cup competitions. You've just got to beat the team in front of you. Doesn't matter how you
didn't expect another 13, another 13 maybe.
But yeah, you know, all you can do in cup competitions is just progress, because nobody, when they rate the name winners on a trophy, they don't then rate, but they nearly got knocked out in the 4th round. Nobody remembers, and so unless it was a 13-0, then yeah, people might remember. But the vast majority, if you progress in a cup competition to the point where you're in the final, nobody's going to remember the squeaky bum time at the end of the 4th round tie where you nearly got knocked out. Nobody's going to care what the record shows. You progressed, and then you progressed. So no expectation other than we should win the game. It's a very winnable game. They're not going to just lie down and roll over for us, so we've got to make it happen like we did against Morecambe. But the potential's there, and we know the hunger's there. So that's all good things. And when these draws were made, because they were doing the 2 rounds at a time, we all looked at that draw and thought, blimey, blinking, we're in the quarterfinals here, where things line up right. Then it gets serious though, because if you look at the other ties, there'll be surely some big clubs left in it. Then with all cup competitions, it's just to look at the draw after that and then see where we go.
What about Tottenham against Newcastle? It's the right game that we have to expect.
Well,
yes,
the score.
play them sometime. Might as well play them at the start of the season. They've just had an away game in the back of Beyond, so they could be a bit tired from that. Gareth Bale's not playing for them yet. But I just wanted to add on to the Newport game. Newport are probably a better team than what Morecambe are at the moment. They've had a good couple of results in the Cups the last few years. But the word I keep using about the matches this season is attitude. And if Newcastle go there with the right attitude, the right focus, the right determination, they can kill that game in 20 minutes. Because they are far superior. And if they can match the energy, if they can match the determination and the heart, the pride, all the emotional factors that go into it, not the technical, they're much better. But the emotional side of it, if they can match and beat that, they'll win the tie comfortably. And then they can start resting players again. So irrespective of what the game is on Sunday, me, I would go and play the strongest team, not your strongest team, but a very strong team, make a statement, get the game won, and enjoy it. Try and get another clean sheet. And I might even go 3-0 instead of 3-1 on Wednesday. So it's there. But on Sunday, that was the first question with Tottenham. Yeah, we can win. We proved that last season. We can win.
Absolutely.
So that's Newcastle. They can beat anyone. And that's the nature of football. They can beat.
I think the other thing as well, though, is the lack of fans in the ground at the moment really does take away some of that home advantage.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of away wins, hasn't there?
If you look across Europe at a lot of the results, that they're quite skewed now because there's not that home advantage without the fans there. It does make a difference.
Yeah, Sunderland won away, didn't it, on Saturday?
That's a rare occurrence. But it certainly does make a difference if you look at the stats. And so again, going into an empty Tottenham Stadium is to us advantageous in a way. So they're 2 very inconsistent Jekyll and Hyde teams over the last couple of years, and genuinely anything could happen.
Yeah, I think Tottenham's the team that Newcastle beat most in the Premier League. But we've been what was the old White Hart Inn. We've been battered 5-0, 5-1 and things like that. But we've had some memorable results down there. So to make a prediction, it's quite difficult, isn't it? It's which Tottenham turns up, which Newcastle turns up. If Newcastle are going to sit back and let Tottenham attack and give them the confidence boost, which Newcastle have been very good at over the years. If a team needs a confidence boost, we'll come in and help out. But if Newcastle go there with a bit of application and a bit of belief, they've got every opportunity they can go and win that. Take the game to them, because Tottenham won't be expecting that. Tottenham will be expecting Newcastle to sit back, as they've been inclined to do over the last season or so. Sit back and then hope to hit you on the break. Why not go not gung-ho, but go at them? We've got the players to do it now. We've got an improved squad. We've got players up front now. There's no reason why we couldn't. Just got to want to do it and believe we can do it. So that's his belief for Sunday. If we believe we can win, we can go and do it.
Okay, Waleed, any comment?
Let's talk about
next point. It's disappointed for everyone. The takeover, PIF, PCP, and the Rubens against the Premier League. So, what do you think, guys, about the latest about the takeover?
It's very much in the hands of the lawyers now. You know, it's as simple as that. There's no doubt that Mike Ashley is on board with the bidding parties because of the way this process works. That all communication during the sale process goes through the club, not directly to the buyers. So it's quite clear by taking this action, Mike Ashley is the only person who can take this action to force a sale through. And it would appear quite clearly he's aligned with PIF, PCP and all the partners. Quite clear. So, and it's also interesting that it's not just about getting a takeover. It is this takeover that Mike Ashley wants. Because I think he realises this is his last chance to get top dollar for the football club. With the way that football's going, football is on a real financial precipice at the moment. It's quite clear that the Premier League have got concerns, but also it's quite clear that below the Premier League, it's in dire straits, absolute dire straits. You know, the 70-odd Championship clubs are losing something like combined £25 million a month. That's not sustainable. The English Football League made a statement this week, which basically said the government are going to have to step in and help you guys because we're not. And good luck to you. This is quite concerning. And so the Premier League themselves, they've lost, or they've had this run-in with the Chinese broadcast partner. I think it's clear that they are concerned about how much money they are losing at the moment. This is all financially driven, and in terms of the takeover, as I say, Mike Ashley, I think, realises this is his last chance to get top dollar, and so he wants this to happen as well. There's no doubt about that.
Stu?
Well, yeah, I've always said from day one that I think this takeover will happen, and I still believe that. Last time I was on the show, I mentioned that the Premier League, I believe, are going to have to accept, as long as the PIF are determined, because for sure we know that Mike Ashley's determined to sell it. We're quite certain that Amanda Staveley and PCP are still determined to buy it, and I think PIF hold the key. As long as they're on board, then I firmly believe this takeover will happen. But what I touched upon on the last show that we did, which was maybe 6 weeks back, that the Premier League may be trying to appease other parties, shall we say. And by delaying it, it means that this transfer window is gone. And this is the big opportunity with Mike Ashley keeping Newcastle cash rich, believe it or not. I thank them for that. Where we could have made a statement in the transfer window, similar to what Chelsea have done. The funds could have been available for Newcastle to make a big splash and catch up quickly. I think this was the big fear with a lot of the top six. And with the Premier League stalling. And I honestly, I genuinely believe eventually they will roll over or be forced to roll over. But the transfer window's gone. And then come January, it's going to be very difficult to prize very good assets to leave one team to join a team that's not challenging for Europe at that stage. So then the first time the new owners could make an impact would be next summer. You know, and this gives the top six more times to get all their little ducks in a row and strengthen their team, which you see them starting to do now. They're now starting to flex the muscles. You know, there was talk today about Jadon Sancho, another 90 million bids being put in. Manchester City are trying to get another centre half. Chelsea have done their business very shrewdly, very quickly. Arsenal are still looking to buy another player, but they've added very wisely. So it's going to make it more difficult to catch them up. But again, to reiterate what Mitch said earlier, and it's living in the region. It's about pride. you know, and maybe in a perverse sort of way, this could be very good for Newcastle United long term. The delays could really get to the stage where, okay, you've made us wait, we're going to catch up quicker now. And what could have been a very small investment for the PIF, they might put more money towards it and make it. Yeah, we want to be not just the top, because if they're the top Premier League team in the Gulf, they're going to be the top Premier League team in the Premier League, which invariably makes them one of the top Premier League teams in Europe. You know, so it's exciting what can happen. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but the potential's there, and the hope and belief still there that it will happen. But I keep smiling every time you see certain things being reported, like the failed takeover. It hasn't failed. It's not finished, is it? You know, the Premier League are very keen to say they didn't reject it. So how has it failed? And there's a lot of reporting on that, but there isn't much reporting on what's happening in other parts of the country other parts of Europe, shall we say, in courtrooms. You know, so there's blatant agendas that's going on. Now, this Nick DeMarco and Shahid Fatima, they've been handpicked from Blackstone. Now, I've been trying to research Shahid because I was told that she was from Bahrain originally, but I'm not sure. I don't know if any of you guys know where she comes from. But I have tried to research her, but it's very limited. She's done a lot of good work, but they've got the best of the best there. And the fact that they've taken the case on tells me that it will happen. And the Premier League are just delaying it for as long as possible. So I would say any time between the window closing and probably before the turn of the year, that's when I genuinely believe it'll happen.
You know this guy, familiar? Richard?
Richard's good.
Richard, he was the old Premier League chairman.
Yeah. Would you think if he's still in his position, would you think things would be smoother than now? What's going on?
Definitely.
I just was doing research. And
It was Scudamore, Richard Scudamore, that's his name. Yeah, I believe, I know this has been well documented and I don't want to bleat on about it too much, but Gary Hoffman coming in changed the whole dynamic of this takeover. And, you know, you don't have to be Einstein to research where it's come from. And I'm not just talking about his friendship with Gorilla Gloves, I'm talking about his bad time he had at Northern Rock, which was a big building society, like a bank in Newcastle. He didn't like his time there. He had a bad experience. Then he was at Barclays when they bailed them out. When Qatar bailed them out, and there was a lot of shenanigans and things going on there. And I'm sure he feels indebted to, let's say, the people at beIN Sports. And he's come in from no red flags to whoa, you know, there's flags everywhere at the moment. You know, not red ones but amber ones. So that's where I believe everything got slowed down. But the law is the law. And I will reiterate, as long as PIF have got the appetite and the fight to go and get Newcastle United, then they will get Newcastle United. And it'll just make us better and stronger.
Right. So we have like 10 to 15 minutes. We didn't want to, you know, it's now very late in Dubai and Manama.
Yeah.
So we'll have 15 minutes for questions. We cover the update on the takeover. It's been quite last days, and last thing we updated about the Blackstone. They are ready for legal action soon, inshallah. So I'm trying to find it's too many. Okay, this is from our Chris. Yes,
Waleed, can I just say that I've just seen Sperry Man's name on there. You messaged me earlier and asked me to do the show topless like he did on a show this week.
Yeah, he asked me on Twitter, same.
Yeah, would I do the show topless? And no, I'm not there to get people excited or make them ill.
Okay. This for Mitch. Have you driven to road to Jebel?
Jebel Jais, yeah.
Jebel Jais? I think
Jebel Jais. No, Jebel Jais is in Ras Al Khaimah. And it's where they've got the highest zip line in the world up there, and you can fly down at some ridiculous speeds down this high zip line. And it's interesting because in the winter you sometimes get a scattering of snow on the top of Jebel Jais. And when it snows on the top of Jebel Jais, you can actually see the line of cars waiting to go up to look at the snow. It sort of becomes like everybody wants to go and see the snow. But yeah, Jebel Jais, I think everybody gets the impression that the UAE is all about purely deserts, but once you get into Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah, and you go through the mountains, it's very different, very, very different landscape, and just as beautiful. And there is real variety in the UAE, and Jebel Jais is something that is worth the trip up. Yeah.
All right. Okay, this is from Jagger. Hendrik isn't a wide player. Why does Steve Bruce play him there? Anyone take?
That's the comment I was making just before. I would play Hendrik in the middle if he's playing at all, but against Tottenham, I would definitely play him in place of Shelby. It's horses for courses, and I don't know why he plays him there. Maybe he did a good job, but
I think one of the lads on Twitter, I think it was Edit Kev, did a load of stats on him at Burnley, and he played all across the midfield at Burnley. He played out wide, and he played in the centre, and he broke down sort of where he was most creative. And I think that's the kind of player he is. I think he can do certain roles, but it's clear, I think, from those stats, if I remember right, that in the centre is where his best position certainly was for Burnley. But he can sort of fill in and do a job, which I'm never really keen on, you know. Those sort of players don't then establish a role for themselves in the team, pretty much like what I was saying about Sean Longstaff, you know. And I think he certainly deserves a shot on the centre mid, which is almost certainly his best position.
Would you give Joelton a shot after doing well last game?
No.
Yeah, option from the bench and say,
Yeah.
right, can you now step
Put him on the bench, yeah. But just because you've scored, you know, you've got to look at the bigger picture. He scored a cracking goal, don't take that away. But when you're playing against someone like Tottenham, you need players who are going to roll their sleeves up and put themselves about, and, you know, the old adage of leave everything on the pitch. And he won't do that. He won't. He could come on. Well, I'm sure he will come on because he plays every game at some stage. But to start with, definitely not.
Well, I know Supermac has a feeling he's got a clause in his contract that he must play.
I believe he has. I genuinely believe he has.
Okay, don't feel asleep, Mitch. This is from Christopher. Also, is it Christopher on mashallah on fire tonight? He said, Sam, you are very quiet tonight.
I'm always quiet.
What does this for you, Stuart? From Spinny Mag? What does Mitch and Stuart, both of you, do in their spare time, if not in the pub?
Learn Arabic. Arabic words.
Me, I like spending time.
I speak to you, Benny. I speak to you on WhatsApp all the time.
I spend a lot of time with my daughter, doing whatever. Pretty much whatever she wants these days. What do you want to do this weekend? And obviously, people know I like my watches, so I like to spend time researching and doing bits and bobs with watches. But you know what? It's full on. It's at the minute. It's most of the spare time I have is taken up doing things like this, which has been a godsend during the whole sort of lockdown periods in particular, when the ability to connect to the Newcastle United community through a medium like this. I never ever thought I would see myself doing something like that. You know, the way that the Three Amigos is taken off on a Friday is just crazy. Still blows my mind that we get sort of, you know, 5,000 or 6,000 views, up to 8,000 views in a week of just three mates talking football. It blows my mind. So yeah, my spare time's mostly taken up with family and Newcastle United.
Mr. Bravo said, why does the Premier League don't seem to like Newcastle City and Newcastle FC?
You can answer
Care
that
to
one,
answer?
Mitch.
It's the way I get that sentiment. I get how people from the outside looking in, it must feel that, you know, got something directly against Newcastle as a city and the club. I think part of the problematic takeover situation is we are seen as a big enough club for the Premier League to make a statement, but not seen as big enough that we upset the status quo at the top by them doing what they do. And I think this was a lot of the moves that have been made seem very calculated. They have this issue of separating PIF from the state, that they don't wish to, that's one of the conditions they put on everything. There's a whole host of different things which is frustrating. Do they not like us? I tell you what, they like money, and they're going to be desperate for money soon. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest deciding factors. We're entering this post-COVID world where finances in the game over the next, I would say, over the next 2 months, we're going to see some quite devastating things coming out of clubs in the UK. And it'll get to the point where the Premier League will start to be affected. And they do like money, and money talks. And ultimately, that's where this is going to go, in my opinion. It's frustrating, absolutely frustrating, to see how confident everybody was and the positive noises, and then for the brakes to be put on the way they were. I think the Premier League have been exceptionally disingenuous in some of the statements that they've made. They haven't really been 100% honest, in my opinion. So I think let's see where everything goes.
What is the favorite shisha flavors for you?
Don't smoke it.
Huh?
Don't
What
smoke
was?
it.
I've had a little dabble of blackberry and apple a few weeks ago. That was quite pleasant. But don't do it very often. Don't do it very often.
Real king size.
Yeah, most the other question about the takeover, and we covered that. That was last question, Osama.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you guys. I would like to thank you.
Pleasure to come on. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Stuart, from
No, my pleasure.
from his bait, from his shigga in Bahrain. And,
My base.
yeah, and Dr. Mitch from Dubai. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
شكرا.
يتجدد لقائنا مع برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد الأسبوع المقبل. شكرا لكم. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Good night, guys.
Yeah.
Hello everybody, it's Adam here. I just wanted to send you a quick video and thank you for all of the support I've received so far since announcing I was running to join the Trust board. You can find lots more about me and my platform on Twitter at AdamBeckett09. Talk to you all soon, but thank you so much.
Was Steve disappointing for you guys today? First of all, your assessment of the game?
Well, you can't start the game, especially in the Premier League the way we started. It's over before we've kicked a ball, basically. It'd be 2-0 down against a very decent Brighton side after 6-7 minutes, whatever it was. Just give ourselves far too much to do, and You know, we can talk about tactics and this and that and the other. Unfortunately, we just had a horrible, awful start where we give ourselves a mountain to climb after that.
No shots on target either today. What do you think the difference was from today to your last performance in the Premier League?
Well, I mean, as I said, I think we didn't start the game and couldn't get any sort of control of it at all, especially in the first half. So a slight change, and we had a big chance at 2-0, but I think we're clutching at straws, if I'm being brutally honest. We didn't do enough in the game, either defensively or going forward, and as I said, I don't think we recovered from the first 5-10 minutes.
You were in the dressing room a second ago. Have you had a chance to speak to your team, and what's the reaction from them?
Whatever said in dressing rooms, will remain in the dressing room. So yeah, but they're disappointed. We've had a decent week. They're disappointed and got off to a horrible start, and all of a sudden it's turned into one of those awful afternoons, which you have to accept and go back to work tomorrow and get on with it again.
What will you need to see more of next time out?
Oh, a little bit of everything. But so we've got a big week ahead of us. We've got another cup tie in the midweek, and let's go to work on it.
Can we check on the fitness of Jamal? Is he okay? And Alan?
Yeah, he's got a nasty kick. He's being stitched at the moment. We don't think it's the actual cut, but we think he might have an abrasion in his eye. We'll see about that one. Alan's got an ankle, so we'll see how they are tomorrow.
بلادي بلادي منار الهدى ومهد البطولة عبر المدى عليها ومنها السلام ابتدى وفيها تألق فجر الندى حياتي لمجدي بلادي فدا
بلادي بلاد الإبا والشمم ومغنى المروءة منذ القدم بلادي بلاد الإبا والشمم ومغنى المروءة منذ القدم يعانق فيها السماح الهمم وفيها تصون العهود الذمم ستبقى بلادي منار الأمم لتمنع عنها دياج الظلم باسم المهيمن حامي العلم. كل عام وحنا بأول الصفوف جيلي وصي جيلي سير ولا وقوف يا وطن شعبك على قلب رجل القلوب تعانقت قبل الكفوف هذه بصمتنا باللون الخضر لا فرحنا يفرح العالم سهر عظمة يا بلادي عظمة شمخة السعودية وهل يخفى الغمر يومنا السعودي يشهد الله بلادنا بلادنا واحد ولا يفرد بيننا حاسد يشهد الله بلادنا بلادنا واحد ولا يفرد بيننا حاسد
Newcastle. Fenover all the way. What a goal! Hassan Fenover! A magnificent goal! Newcastle. Cisse. Oh, that is sensational!